Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot, and I'm on with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. Welcome back to the city of Sheffield. I should be in Chesterfield right now, but my original plans for today got a bit scuppered, and as a result, doing Staveley and Brimington in the borough of Chesterfield will have to wait for another week. Okay, so in its place, I've come back into the city of Sheffield and I've come to a town. The only town that falls within the city of Sheffield's boundaries. It's made up of 3 settlements, those being Deepcar, Bolsterstone and Stocksbridge. Welcome to Stocksbridge, a town in the city of Sheffield. Historically part of the West Riding of Yorkshire, it lies just to the east of the Peak District. The town is located in the steep-sided valley of the Little Don River, below the Underbank Reservoir. It blends into the areas of Deepcar, Bolsterstone and the eastern end of Ewden Valley around Ewden village, which are all within the civil parish. The population of the civil parish as of the 2011 census was 13,455. So up here on the Stocksbridge bypass, you get a great view over Stocksbridge and Deepcar and everything else that's in the valley below, including Fox Valley, which is a shopping centre which I'll be walking to later. So there you go, there's Stocksbridge. We'll have a tour around that very shortly. But there's a reason why I've begun this video here on the Stocksbridge bypass, because before we even get started with Stocksbridge itself, we have to talk about this road, because this road is apparently the most haunted road in Britain. This road is the Stocksbridge bypass, opened in May 1988, a road that links the M1 motorway at junction 35A and at junction 36 to the Woodhead Pass, one of the main Trans-Pennine roads from Sheffield to Manchester. It's been said the Stocksbridge bypass was originally planned to be part of the M67 motorway. The road is notorious for having many accidents and has been labelled an accident black spot. The most interesting part about this road, though, are the ghost stories attached to it, including reputed apparitions of a monk and phantom children during the road's construction. These claims were featured in a 1994 episode of the paranormal documentary series Strange But True, hosted by Michael Aspel. More stories of sightings have emerged since, with the figure of a monk being amongst those most regularly reported. Others have reported odd experiences and the belief there were other occupants in their vehicles, and that has inevitably attracted the attention of ghost hunters and experts in the unexplained. It also means the bypass regularly appears in league tables of the country's most haunted roads, quite often topping the charts. Our main walk around actually begins and will end in Deepcar, which sits just to the east of Stocksbridge. The main features of this place will all be seen on foot. Until the early 18th century, what is now Stocksbridge was a deciduously wooded valley, running from Midhopestones at its northwestern extremity to Deepcar at its southeastern end. Now I've got a certain follower out there who likes these things, so here we go. Wadsley and Langsett and Sheffield Road, Bolsterstone. Huddersfield, 17.5 miles, Holmfirth 12. And on this side, Sheffield is 9. And this is on Manchester Road, between Deepcar and Stocksbridge. A river, originally called the Hunshelf Water, later being renamed the Little Don, ran through the valley. This river was also unofficially called the Porter, probably on account of its peaty colour. In 1716, John Stocks, a local farmer and landowner, occupied a fulling mill halfway along the valley where a floodplain created by meltwater at the end of the last ice age extended southwest from the river. It's there he reputedly built a footbridge over the river, perhaps so that his workforce could reach the mill from their homes on the north side. This originally wooden structure was named Stocks's Bridge, which gave the place its name, not only because it was about the only thing there apart from the mill itself, but also because as a crossing place it appeared under that name on Thomas Jeffrey's map in 1772. On various occasions, Stocks's Bridge was destroyed by flooding, and it was eventually replaced by a stone structure in 1812. There was a dirt road connecting Sheffield with Manchester, and it ran through the woods here in Stocksbridge, adjacent to the river. There were a few stone houses in the valley and a sprinkling of farms on each hillside. The main road from Sheffield to Manchester originally passed through the town until the Stocksbridge bypass opened in 1988. The new road now diverts traffic away from passing through the town, including, importantly, traffic that is required to visit the town's most important feature, the Steelworks. The valley bottom today is almost entirely occupied by steelworks, which owe their existence to the aforementioned mill in a roundabout way. That's because in 1794, three businessmen, Jonathan Denton, Benjamin Grayson and Thomas Cannon, built another mill, this time a large cotton mill extremely close by or possibly upon the site of the original mill. This mill would eventually come into the possession of Stocksbridge's most famed man, Samuel Fox, and we'll talk about him a little later. You cannot escape the fact though that Samuel Fox made Stocksbridge what it is. Steel manufacturing was, and still is, in Stocksbridge's blood. The production of it here was by melting iron and steel firstly in crucibles from 1860, then Bessemer converters from 1862, Siemens open hearth furnaces from 1899 until 1968, and lastly electric arc furnaces from 1939 until 2005. The British Steel Stocksbridge Band is credited with performing Sladeburn in the trailer of the 1997 film The Full Monty, set in Sheffield. Stocksbridge Engineering Steel's brass band has since been renamed to Unite the Union Band. Deepcar brass band remains locally. Sticking with the culture theme, Stocksbridge has a strong amateur theatre group called Steel Valley Beacon, which produces Shakespeare and other plays every year. Mathcore band Rollo Tomasi were formed and are still based in Stocksbridge. Some of the Arctic Monkeys and the vocalist of Bring Me the Horizon are from Stocksbridge and attended Stocksbridge School. With a population of over 13,000, Stocksbridge's demographic, as you might expect, is pretty diverse. There's still a majority of white British here at 98.2%, but there's a pretty sizable Asian community living within these boundaries as well. Stocksbridge's boundaries cover an area surmounting to just over 19 square kilometres, giving this one a population density of 701.1. The population hadn't seen much change over the past 10 years either, despite some areas of new build housing. Speaking of housing, the average property in this part of South Yorkshire goes on the market for around £159,000. Most of the amenities in this place are located along Manchester Road. Beginning in Deepcar and working our way down Manchester Road into Stocksbridge, there are two pubs to show you first on this corner. These are the Royal Oak and the King and Miller. Keep in mind the town has a few more than these, for example the Pen Nook on Hellywell Lane. The fastest way into Sheffield via bus is the SL1 or the SL1A service operated by Stagecoach Yorkshire. This is an every 12-minute service connecting with the Sheffield Supertram service to the centre of Sheffield or Hillsborough. Service 57, operated by Stagecoach as well, runs hourly and every 30 minutes at peak times from Unsleven Bridge at the western extremity of the town. St John's Church is next. The main church in Stocksbridge is St Matthias, but after what I learned about that one before I wrote this script, it would appear this church is effectively the main one here. We'll come to St Matthias in a short while. St John's describes itself as the parish church of Deepcar and Stocksbridge in the Cornerstone benefice. It gives its name to a church school not far from here, Deepcar St John's Church of England Junior School on St Margaret Avenue. Continuing along Manchester Road, we pass Deepcar Police Station, before encountering the huge Deepcar Medical Centre just a few paces further west. There are a few parks and playgrounds dotted around the place, far too many to show every single one. This one is an example on Samuel Fox Avenue. This is within a few paces of the Fox Valley Shopping Centre. This has been right here in Stocksbridge Town Centre since 2016, with a fantastic range of national and independent stores and restaurants. There's over 600 parking spaces with 4 hours free parking, or the option to pay £2.50 and stay all day. Don't recommend these steps that I've just used from Samuel Fox Avenue. They're very steep, very difficult to walk down them. As you can probably tell, this one was filmed just before Christmas. It would have been rude to not have a shot of this fabulous Christmas tree on display right here, wouldn't it? Parish Church of St Matthias now, and this was consecrated in 1890. However, in 2018, a dwindling congregation left the building unsustainable, but not before one last big celebration. The grand building on Manchester Road with its splendid stained glass windows was sold by the Diocese of Sheffield. Samuel Fox initiated plans to build St Matthias but never got to see it completed, as he died in 1887, 3 years before it was consecrated. Stocksbridge Town Centre is centred on Fox Valley and the western end of Manchester Road just to the south of the Steelworks. It has a fair selection of shops, but most of the larger household name stores are located on Fox Valley, leaving Manchester Road with a collection of independent stores, hairdressers, takeaways, cafes, and even a pub or two thrown in for good measure. One thing I did notice is that this place is exceptionally clean, which is a credit to the locals. Here's Stocksbridge Library, also on Manchester Road. The pub shown here is the Friendship Hotel, opposite Johnson Street at number 536. Long since established here in Stocksbridge since 1863, the Industrial Cooperative Society used to meet at the Friendship Inn. The handshake emblem above the door became the Society's emblem. Here's the modern day co-op. Up Johnson Street there's another medical centre, this one with a fabulous view of the valley side in the background. And at the top of the hill and around onto Edward Street we come across the Salvation Army Church on the corner of Victoria Street. Schooling in Stocksbridge is provided by Stocksbridge High School on Shea House Lane, established in its current location since 1929. The school's old building, Stocksbridge Works School, is on Manchester Road. Between 1872 and 1877, a railway line was built to link the Steelworks here with the Manchester, Sheffield and Lincolnshire Railway at Deepcar railway station. This was the Stocksbridge Railway, which existed as a subsidiary company until 1992. Although the Sheffield to Manchester route via the Woodhead Tunnel was closed to traffic in 1981, a single track section from Sheffield to Stocksbridge via Deepcar remains to serve the Steelworks. So I mentioned it last week at the very end of the Ecclesfield episode. If you look up on the hill up here, in the very far distance you'll see a wind turbine. The camera might not pick it up, but up there, that, my friends, is where the Isle of Skye viewing point is in Hunshelf, and it would have shown, had it had been a nice clear day, Stocksbridge in all its glory. Obviously you would have seen more than this, but yeah, up there is the Isle of Skye. So to the Steelworks, arguably Stocksbridge's biggest and most famous feature. A man named Samuel Fox acquired the old cotton mill mentioned earlier in 1842, at first renting it from its then owner, Joshua Newton. 9 years later, in 1851, he purchased the mill outright from Joshua's son, Thomas Newton. Fox converted the place to use as a wire mill and built much of the infrastructure of Stocksbridge, primarily to house his new workforce and supply their needs. The wire was initially for textile pins, but around 1848 the business expanded to include wire for umbrella frames, which led to Fox developing the Paragon umbrella frame in 1851. Just in case it wasn't clear in the last shot, on the side of that building there it says Fox Valley, proud past, new future. So I knew at some point today, having coming here, I would have to climb a hill, and yeah, this is that hill at the moment, Nanny Hill. There's a tower over there. I have no idea what it is, but I'm about to find out. The walk up Nanny Hill to this tower is well worth the effort. This is both a clock tower and a war memorial, and it stands prominently on the hillside at the top of Clock Tower Gardens. In a meeting of the local council in 1916, Councillor Joseph Sheldon proposed a motion that a committee be formed to come up with a suitable way of commemorating the local men who had left home to fight in the Great War and who had not come home again. The land was donated by Mr. R.H.R. Rimington Wilson of Broomhead Hall. The town's local football club is next, Stocksbridge Park Steels. The club was founded in 1986 following the merger of Stocksbridge Works and Oxley Park FC. Their home ground is Bracken Moor, located at the eastern end of the town. The club plays in the Northern Premier League Division 1 East and also organises many youth teams for ages 8 to 18. Stocksbridge Park Steels are not the first team to have represented the town in major competitions. Stocksbridge Church was the first to represent the town in the FA Cup in 1910. The ground was a cricket pitch until shortly after the Second World War, when it was purchased by the Steelworks and converted into a football stadium. As one side of the ground directly adjoins a cricket pitch, the club was required to erect a dividing fence in order to gain entry to the Northern Premier League. Here's one for the football fans out there. I've just noticed something about the stadium here at Stocksbridge Park Steels. They have a stand which is called, you won't be able to read it from here, this one here is called the Jamie Vardy stand. Now, if you're not familiar with Jamie Vardy, he is a striker for Leicester City, and he started his career here at Stocksbridge Park Steels before moving on, obviously, to Fleetwood Town and then to Leicester City, where he is now. I think he might have had a couple of other clubs in between as well. But he's a Sheffield lad, and he started life as a footballer right here at Stocksbridge Park Steels. The river next, perhaps the most important thing here given the bridge that was constructed over it to name the town. This is the Little Don River, a tributary of the River Don. Arising on the Langsett Moors, which we briefly caught sight of way back in the Langsett episode in Barnsley, the Little Don River feeds the Langsett and Underbank Reservoirs. A 2.7 acre section of the river has been designated as a site of special scientific interest since 1977. The site is of considerable importance. It's one of 35 sites of special interest in South Yorkshire. Not too far away, although uphill from the valley bottom, is Fox Glen, which is based around Clough Dyke between Stocksbridge and Deepcar. Fox Glen has a rich history. Originally called the Clough, it was mined and quarried before it became a formal Victorian park, and then it fell into disrepair. Through the efforts of the local community, today the glen has been restored to a thriving woodland full of flora and fauna. So I've got to admit, this is a bit of a change from what I've been used to for the past hour and a bit walking around Stocksbridge. This path alongside Clough Dyke here is really peaceful, and it's even got a bench here that you can potentially sit down on, but I'm not going to right now. I'm going to walk on. The only thing is with it though, if you are to come down here, you've got to watch your footing, because at this time of year it's definitely very muddy, and I wouldn't like to be falling down there, because that is quite a steep drop and there's no safety barrier. Maybe if someone from Stocksbridge Town Council, or anyone who knows anybody who might be able to sort that out, maybe a safety barrier could be a suggestion here. It's only my opinion as an outsider. It might be impossible, I don't know, but certainly if you want to walk down here, you've got to be careful of your footing. Okay, so I've pretty much finished with walking around now, and so it's time to take you on a little drive. Now, what I've done is I've walked around Stocksbridge primarily here. I actually parked the car in Deepcar, and the reason for that is because I'm about to take you around Deepcar in the car. Let's put the camera on the dashboard and see what we can find. So that little drive around Deepcar has brought us to Bolsterstone, and this is a lovely little village, a nice way to end the Stocksbridge episode. But before I take you around this, it's time for today's picture bit, and here it comes right now. Bolsterstone is a village to the south of Stocksbridge. It lies on the border of the Peak District National Park and has a population of 386. The village is at a height of around 300 metres above sea level on the northern side of the east-west Ewden Valley, north of Broomhead and Moorhall Reservoirs. The origin of the name Bolsterstone is unknown. It may be a corruption of the root word walder, or may refer to two large stones in the village which are referred to as the Bolsterstones. I can't tell you how handy it is to find a toilet block. Or with all this walking I do, I occasionally do need to find them, but not every village has got a block like this. In fact, I would say most villages don't. But there's one here, and I did find one in Ashover in Derbyshire as well, which was very handy. Anyway, the reason I'm speaking to the camera at this point is to do with this sign. We are here in Bolsterstone, and as you can see, I've found a map. Here's the village of Bolsterstone, and Stocksbridge and Deepcar are up here to the north. So basically, I'm just going to walk around the village. It's very small, just a nice way to end this one. But as you can see, the parish boundaries do actually cover a lot of stuff over here as well. Underbank Reservoir you'd have seen in the picture bit. There's also Whitwell Moor just here as well, which apparently is a nice walking you can walk around that apparently. So yeah, if you fancy coming to Bolsterstone to have a little walk around, come to this board near the toilet block. You'll find out where you're allowed to go, really. The village is thought to have been established in the Anglo-Saxon period. St Mary's Church was founded in 1412, and a fortified manor house known as Bolsterstone Castle is thought to have been built by the Earl of Shrewsbury. It has a nice pub, this being the Castle Inn, built in 1840. As of 2009, the village functions as a residential village. It has no shops, and both former schools here have closed. The National School building is used as the village hall. The Peak District boundary walk runs through Bolsterstone. The Porter's Lodge. Much of this building seems to have been restructured in the 19th century, having formerly been a dwelling house. It was then used by the village for the Sunday school as a meeting room for recreational pursuits such as billiards and beetle drives. The church stands on the site of earlier places of worship and was built in 1872 to 1879. The Lit Gate was erected to commemorate Queen Victoria's Jubilee in 1897, and the present gate to commemorate the Silver Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II in 1977. In 1912, a war memorial was erected by the side of the Lit Gate, taking the form of a Celtic cross, and records the names of 48 people in the parish who were killed in conflicts in the 20th century. In the early 1950s, thieves stole an amount of lead off the church roof, and the ensuing flawed repairs done with asphalt sealed in damp and led to problems with dry rot in the roof timbers. The timbers and roof slates were replaced throughout the 1960s. The church's most interesting feature comes in the form of a new stained glass window that was unveiled in the church in 1997 to commemorate the 50th anniversary of a coach crash which killed 9 people on a coach transporting the Bolsterstone male voice choir to a music festival in Holmfirth. There are unsubstantiated claims that a chapel existed in the village of Bolsterstone in the 12th century. However, the first documented place of worship on the site of St Mary's was established by Sir Robert de Rockley in 1412. I love finding boards like this. This one's outside the village hall. So how many of these am I about to see? Well, to be honest with you, quite a lot of them. We've got a stocks and a whipping post. The Bolsterstones, they're just here in front of me, just here. I'll find them in a second. We've already seen the church. The Jubilee Tree, which I'll catch on the way back in a moment. It's just in front of the church. The Porter's Lodge, which we've already seen. And then we've got Castle Cottage, which is something I'm yet to go to. And then Bolsterstone Village Hall, which is right behind me. And here it is. The village hall was formerly the National School, built in 1852. Initially, however, it was not popular, as children born within the parish could attend the free or endowed school, first built in 1686. These are the village stocks situated to the left of the lit gate against the church wall. These are the Bolsterstones. These stones once stood in the middle of the village on what was probably the green, but were brought into the churchyard for safekeeping in the 19th century. This is the Jubilee Tree. It's a sycamore tree which stands between St Mary's Church and the Castle Inn and was planted in 1897 to commemorate Queen Victoria's Jubilee. Castle Cottage. This is one of the oldest houses in the village. Architecturally, it's difficult to date. The windows on the wall of the southern aspect probably date back to the 15th or 16th century and could indicate that this end of the house dates back to that period. It's very difficult, however, to date the rest of the house, which is probably from a more modern period. Right, that's it I think, guys. That's the parish of Stocksbridge for you. Lovely one. I actually enjoyed walking around this one, despite the fact that it's quite hilly in places and it's quite hard on the old calf muscles, I must admit, traipsing up and down hills all the time. But to be fair, it wasn't too bad. I think I've probably covered the majority of things you could find in this one. I know I haven't covered it all, but that's just how it goes. Some are big and some are small, and when you get to these bigger ones, you really can't cover it all because, you know, the videos would be like 2 hours long, and I don't think you want to be watching me for 2 hours at a time. I think half an hour is just about enough. And what about Bolsterstone then to finish? What a lovely little place this is, up in the hills above Stocksbridge and Deepcar. That means we've only got one more civil parish to cover in the city of Sheffield, and that's Bradfield, and that's actually the last one in South Yorkshire. It seems ages ago since I started South Yorkshire. The very first video, of course, was in South Yorkshire, in Rotherham, and it's taken me nearly all year to get round them all, but Bradfield is the last one to do. I don't know when that's going to be, because trust me, that one is huge. It's massive. It's bigger than this and much bigger than Ecclesfield as well. Okay, time to move on to somewhere else then, hopefully Chesterfield now. I've been Andy, otherwise known as the Village Idiot, and this has been the parish of Stocksbridge, and I'm out.